Judiciary has been rocked by several high-profile bribery and corruption investigations involving both sitting and acting judges. These cases have sparked a national debate over judicial integrity and the efficacy of the Judicial Service Commission. In November 2025, Gauteng High Court Judge Portia Dipuo Phahlane was arrested by the Hawks on charges of corruption and money laundering. Let's talk more about this with Mbekezeli Benjamin, Research and Advocacy Officer at Judges Matter. Very good afternoon to you, Mbekezeli. Thank you very much for your time. Just how concerning is what we are seeing? Yes, a lot of these are still under investigation. In other cases, it's still allegations at this stage. But from where you sit as an organization, what is foremost in your mind when you hear or talk about all these cases and allegations?
Good afternoon, viewer, and good afternoon to the viewers. Happy New Year to you and Happy New Year to the viewers of Newzroom Afrika. Well, as Judges Matter, we are very concerned when we learn of these allegations. They are deeply concerning because they do put a dent on the integrity and an image of the judiciary and people's respect for the judiciary. And so we are deeply concerned by them. But we also expect that the powers that be, and in this case, the Judicial Service Commission, the Magistrates Commission, also takes these allegations as seriously as possible and quickly institutes investigations so that these allegations are dealt with fully and they are cleared. If there's any judge or magistrate who's found not to be behaving according to the standards that are expected of them, they should be dealt with swiftly. And if there are no proof or no basis for these allegations, that should also be clarified. So that is what we expect as a bare minimum from the Judicial Service Commission and the Magistrates Commission.
Let's start with the Judicial Services Commission. There have been lots of complaints about how the way it does or goes about conducting its work, interviewing judges in particular, doesn't quite or is not conducive to the kind of environment that will ensure that our country actually gets the best judges that it deserves. There's a lot of posturing, some people say, lack of adequate preparation on the part of many members of the JSC, a lot of grandstanding and posturing, some people say. Just your thoughts about how the JSC tends to conduct itself, because it is for those reasons that a lot of people are saying there has to be a review of the whole system. Yes,
you're quite right. I think the JSC for many, many years has not performed in the way that we expected it. There has been a lot of political posturing, a lot of time that is wasted on not trying to find the most suitable lawyers or the very best lawyers to be judges in our courts. And a lot of time was rather spent on political side gimmicks. But I must be honest, Rio, that in the last 3 years, especially since 2022, the Judicial Service Commission has turned a corner. We are seeing improvements in the way that the JSC conducts its business. We are seeing an improvement in the quality of the interviews. And in fact, for the last 2 years at least, the JSC has almost exclusively focused on the qualities of the people who come before them. They look at their legal experience, they look at their ability to do the job, and the interviews have been respectful. And in fact, the interviews have become tougher on those who want to be judges. And that is the right way that things should be happening. And so there is a lot of improvement, but of course there is still things that we are hoping that the JSC will resolve, including, for example, writing a code of conduct for the commissioners so that we never again see the kind of antics that we used to see in the past. If there is a written code of conduct, we know that commissioners will be held to it. So that is something that we are hoping the JSC will do. But I think when it comes to disciplining judges, which is a different function of the Judicial Service Commission, and here, when the JSC is dealing with complaints against judges, it is only the lawyers and the judges who are present. So the members of Parliament are excluded from that process. And so what we are seeing is a concern in that the processes for how the JSC goes about these investigations are far too complex, unnecessarily complex in our view. They are too slow. It takes a very long time for them to investigate complaints and resolve complaints against judges. And so those are some of the things that we have put forward as ways in which there should be urgent review. And currently there is a bill before Parliament where they are, for example, expanding the Judicial Conduct Committee, which is the committee that adjudicates complaints against judges. Currently, it's made up of about 5 members, and it's going to be expanded to a maximum of 13 members. And hopefully that will speed up the adjudication of complaints. So that is just one reform that we are hoping Parliament will resolve on quickly. But also, I think the general capacitation of that process and the broader review of the process to make it more streamlined and more efficient does need to happen.
Just on the turnaround, you say we have seen how respectful the members of the JSC are now, and the general improvements you are talking about. What do you think happened there? Did suddenly members of the JSC become aware of their own shortcomings and pitfalls? Was it because organizations like yours are actually keeping them on their toes? Is it because they're getting, or they've gotten, over the years, they've gotten more and more experience? What can we point to? Because I think that becomes important, because if, going forward, you actually need to reinforce those improvements, I would imagine.
Yes, there have been a number of factors that have contributed to the improvement that we see at the JSC. Number one, there were certain members of the JSC that were removed, others were brought in, and those who have been brought in, we have seen they are very much serious on the task at hand in terms of interviewing judges and asking the type of questions. So that has improved the process. But also, I think there was a general realization, and I think that was brought on by organizations like Judges Matter, where we did research, for example, looking at how the JSC process is run in terms of interviews. And we found a deep unfairness in the process. And the key area of unfairness was that commissioners could ask any question under the sun. And so you would be same candidates interviewing for the same position, but your interview will be 30 minutes, my interview would be an hour or 2 hours, and there will be wildly different questions that would be asked. And so we note what the cause of that was that the JSC did not have any criteria in which it assessed the candidates. And that was something that was improved in 2022. So there was a new criteria that was written, and it was adopted by the JSC. And for the most part, they have been following that criteria. And that part of that criteria was also giving more powers on the Chief Justice to overrule questions that are inappropriate. And that has also helped in terms of improving how the questions are, because in the past, any commissioner could ask you anything, what you had for dinner, what are your political views, and sometimes they will solicit legal advice from you, even though you're coming for an interview. And so what the new criteria have done, that the chairperson, the Chief Justice, has now more powers to say, look, this question is irrelevant or inappropriate or is not geared towards finding out whether this person is suitable for a judge. So all of those factors taken together, they have contributed to the improvement. But like I said, there are still things that the JSC still need to fix. One of them is just having a code of conduct so that we never again see those kinds of irregularities that we saw in the past.
Before I let you go, I have to ask you this, especially on the back of what you're saying, or in fact, what you pointed out about disciplining judges and how MPs are excluded and only the legal practitioners get to be involved there. Yesterday, chaos erupted in Parliament. MPs clashed over whether to call in judges to appear before Parliament's ad hoc committee that's probing police corruption. I don't know if you have a view on that.
Look, on principle, Vuyo, it is important for the ad hoc committee to investigate all the allegations of criminal infiltration including those allegations that pertain to the judiciary. So on principle, there's nothing wrong there. But what we heard in the ad hoc committee meeting yesterday was that a lot of the MPs were not really interested in actually principled issues. They seem to be concerned about judgments. And that's where it unfortunately crosses a line. No institution in the country is allowed to investigate judgments. If you have a concern about a judgment, there are processes in which you can take those concerns up. Unless you have any evidence to show that a judge maybe received a bribe or acted improperly in the process, even there, you are not investigating the judgment necessarily. You are investigating the conduct of that specific judge. And this is a caution that Mr. Malema raised quite sharply in the ad hoc committee yesterday, that it's dangerous for MPs to want to sort of litigate or relitigate court issues in a parliamentary forum, because that undermines the integrity and independence of the judiciary. And so that for us is where we draw a very clear line that, of course, the ad hoc committee must investigate allegations against judges, that, for example, if there is any infiltration or evidence to show that they were working with criminal gangs, that is perfectly fine. Where it is not fine is the investigation of specific judgments and trying to sort of interrogate those judges, because there are appeal and review processes that are there, and the risk that you affect the independence of the judiciary, and that is something, unfortunately, you can't get back. Once you harm the independence of the judiciary, the country is gone, unfortunately. Mbekezeli Benjamin, Research and Advocacy Officer at Judges Matter, thank you very much for your time.